Talk to yourself once in a day. Talk to yourself once in a day, otherwise, you will miss meeting an excellent person in this world. Otherwise, you will miss meeting an excellent person in this world by Swami Vivekananda. Hi everyone, this is Akshay, Faculty of Mathematics, Vivek Vidya Youth Forum, New Delhi. In this particular sessions, we will be dealing with exercise 4.2, which is a part of Unit 2. So let's get started with our first question. Find the roots of the following quadratic equation by the method of factorization. Let me just take a pen. By method of factorization. They have specified the method over here. So this is the quadratic equation. This equation you are supposed to write in your solution. This is what is called given. This is what is called given. Next, 10x square. We get it as 10x square. Multiplying this 10 and this x square, we will get it as 10x square. This 10x square can be split as, rather than just 10x square, let me add it as minus 10x square. It can be split as minus 5x and plus 2x, which nothing but gives us minus 3x, which gives us minus 3x. Let me just clear this off, which gives us minus 3x. So this method is known as splitting of middle term. Splitting of middle. Splitting of middle term. Right. So then later, this method is known as grouping. This method is known as grouping. Grouping. This step is known as getting to linear factors. Getting to linear factors. Okay. So I am not explaining the question over here, but rather explaining the method, because how you, if you learn the method rather than learning the question, it's easy for you to tackle any quadratic equation asked you to solve using factorization method. Any quadratic equation which is asked you to solve using factorization method can be tackled only if you know the steps, right? So I will only explain the steps in factorization method rather than explaining the problem, because this question might not be the same in the exam. This question what is given might not be the same in the exam. It can be any other question, but if the method you know how to tackle the problem, you can easily solve the question. You can easily solve the question. So later on, this statement is optional. This particular statement is optional. If you want, you write it, else you can ignore it. Because the same thing you have written over here. You have written the same thing over here. So no need to bother much about this statement. I write this statement for a single reason, so that all the students whoever are watching this video will understand it better, so that all the students who are watching this video understand the concept better. You have a stiff hold on the concept. Roots of these equations are x minus 5 and x minus 2. What is this form of representation? This is the other form of representing the question itself. This is the other form of representing the question itself. Right. So then you will equate both of them separately to the 0, get both the roots. Get both the roots. No need to worry, children. I will be sharing across the screen in which I will scroll down the answer key. You can copy it down. You can pause the video during that time. Now, just concentrate and listen to the lesson which is going on. Later on, while I am just scrolling down, pause the video, copy the notes. Right. First time, you have to listen carefully. You have to use your listening skills, which is very, very essential for an individual growth. Right. So these are two factors. Next. Again, there is one more question, but for a person who knows the method, this question is easy. What is this step? This step is nothing but given. What is this step? This step is nothing but splitting middle term. Splitting middle term. This step is nothing but what? Grouping. Grouping. This step is known as linear factors. Again, as I have told in the previous question, this is an optional because you have already expressed in the previous step. The mathematical expression we have already written, but the verbal description wouldn't have been given. So the verbal description is nothing but this. This is nothing but the verbal description. Right. Next, equate them separately to 0. Find the roots. Find the roots. This is nothing but the same quadratic expression or the equation expressed in the form of two linear factors. The same quadratic equation which is expressed in the form of two linear factors. Right? Got it? Clear. Next question. Again here, there are few in the form of roots, which most of you might feel it difficult. So I will explain you. Look at over here. So I will write over here separately. 5 root 2 into root 2 is nothing but 10. Is nothing but 10. Okay, this 10 x square we will get it as a whole. 10x square, which can be further expressed as 5x and 2x. 5x into 2x also we can express them. And 5x plus 2x is nothing but equal to 7x, which is given over here. Nothing but equal to 7x, which is given over here. Let me just clear the screen. Now, as it is, the methodology follows. This is the step of given. This is the step of splitting. Splitting middle term. Splitting middle term. This is the step of grouping. Grouping. This linear factors. linear factors. This step I will write over here. What is that? Verbal description. Verbal description. And this equation, what we have got over here, is nothing but the linear representation of the quadratic equation. Is nothing but the linear representation of the quadratic equation. Later, equate both the linear expressions to 0, get the roots for x. Get the roots for x. Right. So each step carries marks individually. The marks distribution depends on the type of question, whether it might be asked for 3 marks or it might be asked for 2 marks. Usually factorization method is expected for 2 marks rather than 3 marks. Let me move ahead further with the next question. Yeah. In this question, we have given, write the question itself, what is given. Given. This is nothing but splitting middle term. Splitting the middle term. This is nothing but grouping. Grouping. This is nothing but, so rather than I give it like this, this is not actually the step of splitting the middle term. This is actually a complicated thing. So let me just clear it completely and let me just explain this particular question instead of explaining it in the form of steps. This is what is given in the question. Getting it to the standard form. So instead of just this step as getting to the standard form, I will rather put these 2 steps together and say getting to the standard form. Getting to the standard form. And then again, the steps repeat, splitting the middle term. Splitting the middle term. Splitting the middle term. This is grouping. Grouping. This is linear factors. Linear factors. This is again the verbal description, which is given in the previous step. This equation is the representation of the linear factors. You can find one thing over here, both the roots are equal. So this question, remember this question, these questions, I will use some other color ink so that I can express. This color would be better. I will take purple. Yeah. So this concept can even more be understood with the concept of nature. I'm sorry. I'll clear the screen. Let me just erase this portion. this concept can be understood even more better with the concept of nature of roots. What nature these roots possess, based on that we can understood this concept better. Then equate them separately to 0, equate them separately to 0, equate the linear factors to 0, get the roots, get the roots. Okay, get the roots. Next, fifth question, using factorization method. This is pretty simpler and easier too. This is what is given. This is what is splitting the middle term. This is grouping. And this is linear factors. Linear factors. So next, this step is nothing but the extended step of the fourth step. Fifth is nothing but the extended step of the fourth one. So then this is nothing but how you express, I'm sorry, just a minute. This is nothing but how you express the given quadratic equation in the form of two linear factors. And then just equate them to 0, get the roots, get the roots. Okay, done with it. So one thing which we are supposed to remember over here is getting the quadratic equation to the standard form. If you have the quadratic equation to the standard form, you can avoid two more steps. Two steps will be avoided. And if that quadratic equation is a form of an identity, or if it has same equal roots, if it has, then it's an advantage saying that it's of the form of a plus b the whole square or a minus b the whole square. Either of the form the given quadratic equation is. Right. Got it? Clear with this? Let's move ahead further. Again, the concept inside over here is to solve the quadratic equation by factorization method, the key results are used. To solve the quadratic equations by factorization method, two key results are used. To split the middle term, find the number a and b such that their sum is equal to the coefficients of x and the product is equal to the product of coefficient of x square and the constant term. The product of the number 0 means either or both are 0. So this is nothing but the steps involved in solving a quadratic equation using the method of factorization. That's it. Next. This was actually an example question which we had taken in the first exercise. In the unit 1, we had taken these two questions as an example question. Right. In this two questions, I won't be reading the questions as I have read during the first time. I'll just read it as a sentence. That's it. Since we have already know how to obtain quadratic equation from the verbal description, how to represent it mathematically, and how to solve. So let me not spend much time. Let me just see this. John and Jeevan, they together have 45 marbles. Both of them lost 5 marbles each, and the product of the number of marbles they now have is 124. We would like to find out of how many marbles they had to start with. Right. So yeah, the equation which is given to us is, let's just take a pen, 1 minute. This is the equation which is given to us. This is the equation given to us. This step is hazardous, splitting of middle term. Splitting middle term. This step is nothing but grouping. This step is nothing but grouping. This is nothing but linear factors. Linear factors. And as I have told, this is the verbal description of the previous step. And this is nothing but the linear factor representation of the given quadratic equation. Of the given quadratic equation. The given quadratic equation. Equate both the linear factors to 0, get their roots, then later say John and Jeevanti, how many marbles they had to start with. So you have to say either it is 9 or 36. If they are starting with 9, it will be different. If they are starting with 36, it will be different. Right? Next. The cottage industry produces a certain number of ties in a day. The cost of production of each tie in rupees would be 55 minus the number of ties produced in the day. On the particular day, the total cost of production was 750. We would like to find out the number of ties produced on that day. So yeah, again, the steps involved over here is the equation which is given, equation which is given, and this step is nothing but splitting of middle term, splitting of middle term, This step is known as grouping. This is known as linear factors. This is nothing but the representation of the above step in the verbal form. And this is nothing but representation of the quadratic equation into linear factors. These just equate both the linear factors to 0, get it as 30 and 25. These are the roots of the quadratic equation. Third question. Find two numbers whose sum is 27 and product is 182. So let the first number be x and the second number be 27 minus x. Why is it 27 minus x? I will just take it as first number be x and second number be y. Sum of them is 27. So y is nothing but 27 minus x. This is how you take the second number as 27 minus x. Then the product they have asked. Their product, they have only given as 182. Simplify them, equate them, simplify further. You end up in getting a quadratic equation. So this is known as required quadratic equation. Required equation. And this step as it is splitting the middle term. Splitting middle term. Splitting middle term. And this is known as grouping. This is known as grouping. And this step getting to linear factors. Getting to linear factors. Either x minus 13 or x minus 14 is equal to 0. If x minus 13 is equal to 0, x will be 13. If x minus 14 is equal to 0, x will be 14. If the first number is 13, then the second number will be 14. If the first number is 14, then the second number will be 13. Therefore, the numbers are 13 and 14. This is what is the required solution. This is what is the required solution. Therefore, the numbers are 13 and 14. Right. Next question. Don't worry, I will just stream it out at the end. Find the two consecutive positive numbers, sum of whose squares is 365. Sum of whose squares is 365. So if you want, you write down the details over here. Let the numbers be x and x plus 1. Let the numbers be x and x plus 1. Then you start with x square plus x plus 1 the whole square is equal to 365. X square plus this is nothing but the expansion of x plus 1 the whole square is equal to 365. Substitute, solve it. This is actually the quadratic equation which we have got. This is actually the quadratic equation which we have got. Divide the total equation by 2. Divide the complete equation by 2. You will get the required quadratic equation. Required equation. So this is again splitting of middle term. Splitting of middle term. This is nothing but the step of grouping. This is getting to linear factors. So either x is equal to 13 or minus 14. So since x is an integer and it is positive, so this is given in the question. Given in question. So x can only be 13. So x plus 1 is nothing but 14. Therefore, the consecutive positive integers which are required is 13 and 14. 13 and 14. Got it? Clear? Yes. The altitude of a right triangle is held centimeters. Altitude of a right triangle is Just a minute. Sorry, not hell centimeter, it is 7 centimeters. Altitude of the right triangle is 7 centimeters less than its base. Less than its base. Underline the key terms in your textbook or wherever you are writing down the question also. Underline the keywords. Hypotenuse is 13 centimeters. Find its two sides. So first thing, consider the base of the right triangle to be x centimeters. Altitude has question it said it is 7 centimeters less than the base. So by using the Pythagoras theorem, hypotenuse square is equal to the sum of the base square and the altitude square. Express it mathematically, solve it. This is the required quadratic equation which we have actually got. Divide the equation by 2. We get required equation. Then this is again the step of splitting of term. Just a minute. Splitting. Splitting middle term. Splitting middle term. This step is nothing but grouping. This step is nothing but linear factors. Next, either the solution is 12 or minus 5. X can be either 12 or minus 5. The base can be either 12 or minus 5. But the side is always the distance which we are taking. It is always positive. So it can only be 12. X can only be 12. Therefore, the base is given as 12. And the altitude of the triangle. So I will just scratch this part. Just a minute. Rather, I will write it over here. Altitude of the triangle. Altitude of the triangle will be 12 minus 7, which is 5. 12 minus 7, which is 5, which is the expected answer. I don't know, there is a lag in the screen, I suppose. Yeah, now it's coming. So it's the expected answer. No worries, I will project it later. So the concept involved over here is application of Pythagoras theorem. Application of Pythagoras theorem. Most of the students fail to understand that this is a simple question based on the topic of Pythagoras theorem. This is a simple question based on the topic of Pythagoras theorem. Next question. A cottage industry produces a certain number of pottery articles in a day. It was observed a particle day that it was observed on a particular day that the cost of production of each article in rupees was 3 more than twice the number of articles produced on that day. If the total cost of production on the day was rupees 90, find the number of articles produced and cost of each article. First, let's find the number of articles produced. Let the number of articles produced be x. Cost of each article be 2x plus 3. Read the question carefully. You will get it. Why it is 2x plus 3? Because in the question they have given 3 I will underline that part. 3 more than twice the number of articles. 3 more than twice the number of articles. It is given that total production is rupees 90. It is given that total production is rupees 90. So multiply, you get it as 90. Get the required equation. So this is the required equation. Required equation. And then this step is nothing but splitting of terms. This step is nothing but grouping. Next step, linear factors. You get linear factors in this step. So either the solution is minus 15 by 2 or 6. As the number of articles produced is always a positive and it's integer. It is a positive and integer. So it can only be 6. It can only be 6. So we are ignoring minus 15 by 2. Hence, the number of articles produced are 6. Cost of each article is, the formula what we have taken cost is 2x plus 3. So x we know it's 6. So this is the cost. So it is rupees 50. It is rupees 50. Thank you for watching this video completely. Before I end the session, let me just scroll it again from the first. Those who have not copied can copy. So yeah, thank you. We'll meet up with the next session. So if you have liked this video, please click on the thumbs up button. Please do share this video. Post your doubts in the comment window. We'll surely answer them. In the next session, we will go ahead with unit uh, unit 3 actually. Introduction session. Let's see how it goes, and then later on we will complete the chapter in another 5 to 6 sessions. Right. Thank you.